Season 7 of Sun Coaches Podcast is proudly brought to you by Titan Sensor. Season 7. That was my number in high school, so maybe this will be lucky for us. We'll see. You know, I've learned over time that when somebody's talking about something you really don't want to talk about, you just can always throw in there, hey, I knew this guy once, and then just pretty much make up whatever you want to, and they won't listen to it. They'll get off track. And you don't have to talk about the uncomfortable thing anymore. Coach, like we do every week, tell everybody where you grew up and where you're from. Sun Coaches Podcast, where not everybody has a funny story, but everybody has a story. Hope you enjoy Season 7 of Sun Coaches Podcast. Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sensor for Season 6 and 7. Titan is made in the USA. Proudly founded and based in Texas. When you connect with Titan, you are not alone. You can collaborate and share templates with other coaches across the country to build reports and foster competition. Used by programs such as State 6A Georgia State champion Grayson High School, Titan can tailor a package to fit your needs. The eye in the sky never lies. Improve your team's performance with Titan. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 7, and today I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Georgia Fired Football Coaches Association, Coach Ed Gaffca. Thanks for being on with me.
Yes, sir.
And as always, we're going to be discussing, well, not as always, this is a special episode in which we're going to discuss the fallout of the rulings from the Gainesville, Brunswick brawl. You've done a lot of research and you've made a lot of phone calls. You've talked to a lot of people. You watched the appeals procedure today, the appeals meeting. I am going to say this. I will comment, but this is the last I'm going to talk about any of this. I know you're going to probably still have some get some stuff out of it, but this is it for me. I don't have any other opinions other than what I'm going to express and move on with the playoffs and keep it moving. It's been an unfortunate set of circumstances. There's a lot of people that feel very strongly both ways about it. I've talked to a lot of coaches myself, and we are all of one mind, I think, which is not the same as everyone else. But be interested to see your take and the information you've gathered on what's transpired since we last talked about it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what has been the most interesting part of all. It is definitely a bunch of different resources, a bunch of different people that all have. I think they all think that they are, the certified knowers of this situation. And to be honest with you, I felt very conflicted throughout this whole time because after speaking with both parties, after speaking with coaches on both staffs, and hearing, I was probably just as shocked as you and others that 39 players were suspended. Now, the 39 players, I think the part that needs to be mentioned here is that 39 players were the ones that Gainesville had sent that the GHSA had requested, that the GHSA allegedly used their own film breakdown and reviewed the film as well, and felt like all of those were deserving of a suspension. Well, fast forward to today and this morning, where we have the opportunity to have this appeal process go forward. And after an hour and a half of arguably the most frustrating, I didn't have a dog in the fight here. I was thankful that they live streamed it. So kudos to GHSA for transparency. But after watching it, I now know unequivocally why they don't live stream a lot of their events and meetings, because the professionalism, the understanding of how the world works, and their application of the rules that have been agreed to by its member schools just seem to be escaping one another. I have never been more disappointed in a group of quote-unquote professionals in my life in terms of their ability to ask and answer questions that were being presented to them. I believe that, throughout listening to that whole process, I think you have who definitely took a very impassioned approach. I think, and you'll go into some about, what he said and everything there. But what I want to make sure I hit on is the biggest issue I had with that appeal is Gainesville brought up the players that were on the field at the time, the current defenders on the field, the defensive players. And all 11 were on the list originally to be suspended. And I find that to be the biggest issue with it all. Not because they didn't break the rule that we have all come to know and love and appreciate, which is enter the field. They were already on the field of play. What do you want them to do? What are you asking them to do? Because I don't think that anybody knows the correct answer, and for them to still uphold it because they were jogging towards the scuffle that they were already on the field for. You had multiple members say, well, they were, moving towards the incident. Well, shit, what did you want them to do? I understand that they stood back to the side. Ask you, are you suspending them for jogging? Are you suspending them for moving towards the conflict? What are you suspending them for? Because they didn't get involved to that degree. They didn't even make, in a lot of it, they didn't even make contact with the other side. So I don't understand how you could justify ever putting all 11 on there. And then you had the audacity to put the two kids, the one kid that got hit with a 1-2 combo to his jaw, and the other one who got speared by the 6'4", 285-pound SOB from Brunswick on a blind side. You suspended them for what? That throws a asterisk by all decisions that are being made on all of it. That shows me you didn't review film. You didn't apply the rule to the letter that the entire time. And honestly, it shows me that I have zero confidence in your ability to take film, look at it, and go, this is right, this is wrong, this is what the rule says, and this is how we apply it. Because none of that shit mattered. None of that shit mattered. You put kids on there that were standing by each other at the other end zone. You put kids on there that were on the damn field already. And lastly, you put kids on there that got their shit rocked. That is an indictment on you, and you did not come with any proof. You just kept asking for more proof to be provided. And when it wasn't the end zone camera that the people kept asking for, the committee kept asking for, and they don't understand that a end zone camera cuts off in between plays. They don't understand that most end zone cameras are pieces of shit and they don't work all the time. But God forbid, y'all didn't have that access to make the decisions that you made, but you expect Gainesville or Brunswick or whoever to be able to provide it then. So, I've got an issue with the manner in which they conducted themselves, the manner in which they came to make certain decisions, because none of it was based off of anything that I think could be justifiable. They couldn't explain themselves. And that's why I think they don't publicize their meetings. That's why they don't have these things that are out in the open so people can actively judge them and say, hey, we need to hold you accountable. We're a part of your membership group. We expect you to operate above board and adhere to the rules and enforce the rules as we have agreed to. But after listening to that, guys, I don't know if anybody wants to ever be in a situation where you have to go in front of that executive committee. I know I wouldn't. So that, I'll let you, give your opinion on some of it, and I'll follow up on a few things. But But that was my takeaway from today, especially. I think I've never watched something that made me more physically ill, and I don't have a dog in the fight. I could give a shit if people are suspended or not suspended, but you better have a justification for why you're suspending kids. And if it's just they left the sideline, okay, fine. But when you suspend the 11 that are already on the field and you have the audacity to suspend the 2 kids that got their shit rocked, you're an idiot. There's no other way around it. You're you're either lazy or you're an idiot, but you can't be both right now. It needs you to be worth the salary we pay you to do the damn job. So I'll let you, give your thoughts, and I'll come back and review some of it.
Well, I think I agree with you, and I agree with, I think, most everyone else. The 11 that were on the field, and I tried to watch the film myself, not that it matters what I think, but I only counted 3 kids that were on the field to play, like run in there and physically do anything. The other 8, which 2 of them were the 2 that got smoked by the other team, they weren't doing anything. They generally, and for the, and here's another issue I have for watching all of these people's comments, and they can come at me, and that's fine. I've been in this situation in 3 different varsity sports where it got sideways. If you've been doing this for 30 years, odds are it's going to happen. You're going to see it, and it's unfortunate, but it happens. Kids are going to kid. Teenage boys are going to teenage boy. And, so with that being said, generally what happens in a football game when there's a scuffle or something like that, number one, for those of you that think the official that stood there and just threw a flag and didn't put his hands on anybody, that's not his job. He is very expressly told, do not put your hands on one of these children. It's a liability issue. Let the coaches and the security handle it if anything goes sideways. Now, 9 times out of 10, the kids themselves will handle it. They will go pull each other off and break it up. They'll deal with it. But I did not see that. I did not see, the 8 kids that were already on the field. They just kind of were moving in that direction. How they were suspended, I agree with you 1,000%. That's asinine. That doesn't make any sense. That is egregious. Getting on the officials, could they have called the game tighter earlier and had? Yeah, probably. Well, there's no probably. Yeah, they could have. However, for people to think that it is their job to break up fights, that is not what those men get paid and women get paid to do. That's not their job. That's not. They're essentially, you're asking the janitorial staff to break up a fist fight in the daggum lunchroom. That ain't what we get paid to do. That ain't it. So, the level of ignorance that I have seen displayed with the lack of understanding what rules are and how rules are applied over this whole thing has been staggering to me. I don't get involved in social media other than the Twitter nonsense I put out there about jobs and random nonsense and the podcast. I don't look at Facebook. I use Facebook to play Candy Crush. I don't, and keep up with people's birthdays. That's it. If you follow me on Facebook, I will, as soon as you post something, I unfollow you because I really don't care what you're doing. So I guess this was like my first exposure to the general public, and I was left wanting. It's a rule. They left the sideline. All of them that left the sideline, they got to go, as the rule is written. Now, do I agree with the rule? No, personally. Do I understand the principle of, fight or flight? Yes, I do. Have I been in the situation before? Yes. It's a whole lot worse in baseball and a basketball situation. It's a more confined area. You have less people, and in baseball, they have weapons other than a helmet. Okay, so yeah, it's bad. There's nothing good that can come of it. And it's worse in baseball and basketball because you have fewer coaches. So you got 5 adults that are trying to wrangle in 60 kids if they all en masse lose their minds. It's unfortunate. But, the things I took away from it, the people on one side wanting to know what are they doing to the other side? Irrelevant. That doesn't matter right now. What you need to be concerned about is what they're going to do to your bunch and what you're going to do moving forward. I was very disappointed in the leadership stance of making comparisons and familiar type. If that was your brother out there, look, not the best way to handle it, in my opinion. Again, my opinion. A better way to handle it. Look, we understand what the letter of the law is, but our team, they're a tight-knit group. They saw, hopefully that'll be taken into account and they'll understand that they didn't physically get involved. They were just running to the support of their teammates. Better wording, better way of saying it, hey, we understand, we get it. It was bad. Yeah, it was bad. The other group instigated it. Yeah, 100%. Nobody's arguing that. My whole take and my whole stance in this whole thing has been, will the GHSA enforce its rules as they are written? That's it. I really could care less. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. It could be team green versus, team purple. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what it says. They could be playing underwater ice hockey. I don't care what the sport is. My whole thing was, and I was shocked for one, to see that they actually followed their own rules, because they have a propensity for not doing that. And that was my whole take on that aspect of it. Moving forward, does the rule need to be revisited and rewritten? Probably. If they don't physically get involved, it's pretty easy to watch on film and see, all right, that kid threw a punch, that kid threw a punch. He put his hands on somebody, that kid grabbed somebody. Boom, 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 boom. They got to go. The rest of y'all, get your butts back over there. Y'all have a meeting with your team, tighten up, let's go, keep it moving. Or whatever. I mean, I don't care what it is. But like I said, been in those situations before. They're not good. They're not fun. And when you're my age, they're really not fun, because I don't have any business out there trying to fight anybody, much less 19-year-old males in the peak of their prime that are highly tuned athletic machines dressed up in $1,000 worth of equipment that can hurt me. And that goes for the officials too. They are not paid to handle that situation. They're just not. It's very unfortunate. Another take I have, had this not been broadcast by NFHS, what would have happened? I don't know. Who knows? They probably would have gone by the official's report. We'd have heard about it. Some people would have got copies of the tape. You might have seen it. You might not have. You might have got a bootleg copy. Undoubtedly, somebody would have gone live on Facebook, and it would have got out that way. But if it wasn't broadcast by NFHS, they could have just said, hey, they had 12 kids involved. They had 8 kids involved. We threw them out. Let's rock and roll. But because it was on NFHS and everybody on God's green earth has seen it, it forced them into a situation to make a call. I, for one, am glad that they actually enforced the rule as it is written. Now, as far as the appeal goes, you got to, and I've been told I'm the most cynical person people have ever known, and that was my senior English teacher when I was 17 years old. I've been the cynic my whole life, and it's probably not going to change. I'm always questioning, I don't trust you. And I ain't never trusted them jokers to do right. And I, for one, am not shocked at what went on with the appeal. I am shocked that they rescinded 4 of them. They should have rescinded at least 8, the 8 on the field that didn't run to it, and probably more than that. But the appeal process, none of that shocks me. After 30 years of having to deal with this and watching over time what's gone on, nothing shocks me with that. And one last thing is, I'll say this as well. If you don't like being a member of the GHSA and how they handle stuff, you don't have to be a member of the GHSA. You don't. You can take your ball and go to your house and you can play however you want to play, or you can go find another association to get into. Nobody is forced to be in the GHSA. And I'm not saying that to say, if you don't like it, get out. I'm saying it that until enough people come forward and say, hey, this is not working for us, and we think we can do it better, and they go do it and do it better, you're just going to keep getting what you've got.
Well, make no bones about it. I think the GFFCA could do it a little bit better, but they might have to pay me a little bit more than what they pay the GHSA at this rate. But again, like you said, I think what I'm surprised most of, it's not necessarily surprising that in terms of the outcome of the decision. I was more floored about just the complete lack of professionalism, complete lack of understanding, complete lack of understanding points of view. The basics. I think I'm gullible in the sense that I expect people to operate with a certain sense of pride in the roles leadership roles that they have been appointed to lead. And to me, I think that it is absurd, and I mean absurd, that you have an appeals meeting virtually where you've got everybody's microphones having issues, everything's cutting out, you've got somebody that's pouring cereal and eating food while it's going on. You've got nothing but distractions taking place. And to me, if I were Gainesville in that situation, I got to tell you that, better from a not losing their temper standpoint. I disagree with the approach that they took on a lot of it. I would have definitely done some different things, but what I hate is that they didn't absolutely flip the table and cut the feed, because they probably would have been well within their right, especially after you have an executive committee member reference. Is this I can't tell if this is more like a gang or like a team. I mean, come on, like I just, you do yourself zero favors when you make comments like that and have decisions explained like they explained them. And I don't, and I would have liked to have seen some more throwing themselves on the sword of taking their, hey, we understand that we did not follow the rule to the letter of the law. They're well within their right to appeal. I think that they're also well within their right to go to the courts now and ask for an injunction. And I think that now being on video, that manner of appeal and the way that they couldn't understand why there were certain video angles and other things, which is the exact same way that they were able to make their determination in the first place. I think they've got a better shot at getting an injunction to where I would assume they're still going to play with everyone except the 4 players that they mentioned actually have a physical altercation for Gainesville. I think that you'll see pretty much everybody out there, because I think that injunction it has a better chance of passing now than it did on Sunday or Monday after the GHSA opened their mouths on this, on this appeal. If they would have sat there and quiet, they would have given themselves a better shot at having that appeal upheld by any judge. But because they decided to insert foot into their mouth and take it as they did, I think that you now have a real justification for somebody to go, yeah, no, let's take a deeper dive at this. And if I know anything about the legal system, it is that they turn slowly. So, we probably won't get an actual decision on upholding this until after Gainesville is done playing anyway. So that's where I'm at with it. I think that you also have to factor in that, you have Brunswick's decision came out. They have 41 players suspended, and they also have the $5,000 fine as well, and they're also banned from postseason play next year. So my question to the GHSA, and I know I won't get an answer on it, would be, do you plan on upholding the rules of transfers when those kids decide to transfer this season? Because it's going to happen. They are going to transfer, and I need you to know that. And do they need to make a bona fide move, or kind of what are we talking about here? Because they're going to transfer. So I hate it for Coach down there. I think this whole situation sucks. There's nobody that I think agrees with what took place or even approves of what took place. I think my anger comes from a place of disappointment at the leadership of the GHSA in terms of their ability to make even cohesive, just somewhat intellectual thoughts on this. I'm still floored by it, because yes, anybody left sideline per the rule, yep, should be suspended. Do I agree with that? No, but again, the rule is the rule, and until you rewrite the rule, that's where we're at. So I also believe we need to have a discussion with the member schools about, what do you want the GHSA to actually look like? How do you want to hold them accountable? How do you want to move forward? What rules do you want to see? How tight do you want to get on some of these things? Because make no bones about it, y'all can dictate a lot of stuff when you're together on the issues, more so than when you're spread out on it. So if everybody agrees that there needs to be a change in the rules, get together, figure out how you want to see that change implemented, and get it freaking implemented. Because one thing I can definitely say, again, it doesn't seem like it's going to take a lot to get them to move the needle, because also, I guarantee you, if Gainesville calls the state legislature and gets them riled up a little bit, have some phone calls made down there, you bet your ass they're going to start making sure they're not eating cereal and not giving it their full damn attention whenever it's time to rule on a situation. They're going to threaten the state to take over, ruling that, and I know they don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, if we got to babysit your ass, we'll do it. So, again, I think anybody that's listening to this needs to understand that. But the negative about how we operate now in today's world is there's been a lot less phone calls and in-person conversations. Everybody's on social media about stuff. Make phone calls to other schools. Figure out a plan. Figure out what you actually want to see changed and get it done. Get it done for the benefit of the kids, because I think everybody needs to remember that's what we do it for. You don't do it for, yourself or what. If you're doing it for those reasons, that's the wrong reasons. The GHSA is there to make determinations what's in the best interest of the schools and the kids, and not in that order. It's in the best interest of the kids and the student athletes. So, I think that they forgot that a long, long time ago, and I hope that we can get them back there. If not, I'll put applications to the first ever executive board of the GAFFCA. If you're interested, let me know. We'll get this thing rocking and rolling, and we'll get a bigger, we'll make that trophy look, we'll put that shit to shame, make it look like the damn World Series trophy for all I care. We'll make something look good. But in all seriousness, I think if you have an opportunity and you want to get your blood pressure up on a Wednesday, go listen to 11 Alive's live, preview of that meeting yesterday. And regardless if you support Gainesville, don't support Gainesville, in leadership and what that looks like, because that was horseshit. So that's all I got.
Another aspect that's been brought up is they're suspended for the next GHSA sanctioned event, and I would need clarification on this, but over the years, my understanding's always been that if you were a senior and you were a football player and you got thrown out of the last game and you played basketball, well, then you sat that first game. Or you ran track, you didn't go to the first meet, or you played baseball, whatever. That would be the next sanctioned event. But if you were not a senior you had to wait until that sport rolled around and you served that suspension before you were allowed to participate again. I know we had 2 removed from the game in our playoff game, and they were not seniors, and they did not put their hands on anybody. As a matter of fact, they weren't even near anybody, but they used profanity, and they were thrown out of the game. And it wasn't the first time they used profanity, so they were tossed. Lack of self-control, that's fine. We get it. Are we going to appeal? No. Does the rules say they get thrown? Yes. Did we? Yes. We got you. And they'll sit out the first game next year. And that's my understanding on that. I would love to get somebody that knows better than I, if that's the case, because the comments I've seen about, we just got a big tennis team, or we just got a lot of kids are going to be playing basketball or whatever. I'm not real sure that that's how that works. I think you have to sit out that sport, that game, that serve that game suspension for that sport the next time, because you didn't act up during basketball, you didn't act up during track, you didn't act up during somebody put esports. I thought that was great, but no, it's an unfortunate situation. It has turned into a hot mess, and it's going to take away, regardless, it's going to take away from the contest this weekend, because it's what people are going to talk about. And unlike you, I disagree. I do not think an injunction is going to be upheld. I think a judge has more things to worry about than a high school football game, and they will probably say, was there a rule? Yes. What did the rules say? If they left the field to play, they were suspended. Okay. They left the field to play, they were suspended. What's the issue? I understand that the appeal process was very, very janky and clunky. I understand that, two technical legal terms I use right there, but I do get that. But I really don't see. I think they're going to let it go as that. Now, do I agree with it? No. Do I agree with the rule? No. My whole point is, just, again, for the 475th time, is if you're going to have rules in place, are you going to enforce them? Are they rules for thee and not for me? And that's kind of what it's, everybody likes rules until the consequences come out and you're on the wrong end of them. Don't get me wrong. If anybody laid a finger on my son, my wife, or my family members, I will reciprocate very violently with extreme prejudice. But that is because I am fully aware and prepared for the consequences that I will reap from doing said action. It's not a problem. I understand that. I know what the consequences are. I'm all for it. I mean, one of the funniest things I saw, none of it's funny, but it was kind of funny to me because I'm like that. One of the funniest things, if you watch that video, I think it's number 74, number 55 for the black and blue team on the near side, and they're 2 lineman kids, and you see it, the stuff starts happening, everybody starts running out there, and you see them look at each other like, hey man, should we go out there? Nah, I'm going to stay right here. I don't think we're supposed to go out there. And then the one on the right goes, oh man, screw it. And he runs out there, and the other little fella just keeps standing there. But it was just, decisions were made. And now there are going to be consequences for those decisions, whether you agree with them or not, whether I agree with them or not. And, the biggest one to me is the ones that are on the field that didn't participate. That's my thing. I think the rule needs to be rewritten. I think it will be addressed. But in the meantime, it's what they have. It's what we have in place. It's what we all agree to. We know that going in. We have to go through all this training. We have to go through our coaching test every year, and we have to sit through this video and watch all this stuff, and you can't fast forward through it, and you got to sit down and you got to take the test, and you have to say that I have, and it's tied to your professional standards and all that other stuff. And that's all well and good for some people until it affects you. And apparently that's a generational or societal issue that we now face, where it's okay for us to holler and scream about rules until, you find yourself being on the wrong end of having to pay the consequences for choices you've made.
No, you're right about that. And I think the other thing, going back to the injunction, don't forget who gets elected as Superior Court judges in Gainesville and Hall County. So they're going to go to judges that are elected by the same people that they don't want to piss off. Now they are supposed to uphold the letter of the law, and judges are known to do that, but they also like to get reelected. So I definitely think that if I'm Gainesville, I'm going to one of the better lawyers in Northeast Georgia that lives in Gainesville, and I'm leaning on the candidate for Senate or House, who is the mayor of Gainesville right now. I'm making sure that he's aware of his responsibility and all of that. And at the end of the day, they've got to make sure that, hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but football matters around here. We can't go down there to Langston Hughes and even have a shot in hell with our backups or JV or shit. Partly even the varsity kids would probably be a little tough right there. But definitely can't do it with the also rans that are just there to eat, ride, and win. I mean, hell, y'all need to get on board and support us, and I think they've got a good shot of getting an injunction done, because it's an election year for some next year. So we'll see if they pull the right strings. Again, I think that like you said, I mean, hell, if a fight broke out in esports or some shit, I don't know. I mean, hell, I got to be honest with you. I still don't really follow how that's a sport, but who am I to judge what people consider sports, I guess. But I mean, a sedentary sport like that, where you just kind of work your thumbs, I mean, I guess it's a sport just as much as chess is, or chess is, or checkers, or some shit like that. But no. So again, I think I've probably talked ad nauseum on it, whether on Twitter or anywhere else for that matter. And I appreciate the time that people have spoken to me on the phone and other places. But as you were surprised at and tapped out on the common folks and their actual understanding of the rules and their takes on certain things, you'd be shocked at the amount of stupidity they allow to have a smartphone these days. Okay, they don't make you take an IQ test to get one, and I understand why. Dumb people buy stupid things all the time, and that they think that means they have a right to say things, to say stupid things. And more stupid people open their mouths daily than smart people. And that is evidently clear in my mentions. That is evidently clear anytime you make an opinion about anything under the moon. You'd be shocked at some of the people that you know and are or even acquaintances with, and their opinions on literally anything that makes you question how they wake up in the morning, put shoes on, and remember everything that they're supposed to do, because they might that they're only better than just fogging up the bathroom mirror when they breathe kind of intelligent. Okay, so again, I take all of those with a grain of salt. I think stupidity drives the beast that we love and the conversations that we have, but I don't think stupid people should be on executive committee just because they got a degree and pulled their political weight to be appointed to something. Make sure they give a shit and actually know what they signed up for. They need to actually know, and they need to actually give a shit. That's kind of what my expectation is. Give a shit, show up, pay attention, be done. Okay? Like that, those are very simple commandments that I think that they need to rewrite their own bylaws on. Give a shit, show up, pay attention. So that's all I got on it.
Well, if I were one to be offended, I would take offense to those last few remarks, because if anybody resembles those remarks, it's me. I'm not very smart. I don't claim to be. I'm fairly stupid. I'm ignorant of a lot of subjects. But like James Gregory said once in one of his bits, I wish there was a way that not just the people in our town knew we were all ignorant. And one of the other family members said, there is. We can go be on Family Feud. Now the whole country knows we're ignorant. It was something along those lines. And now instead of Family Feud, we have social media. And God knows I try to stay away from topics that I know absolutely nothing about, which is 98% of most topics. But you are exactly right. I appreciate you coming on and all the time you've spent regarding this case and regarding this situation, and the extra miles you've put in to try to actually bring forth some relevant and pertinent information regarding this. Tomorrow's episode will be Benji Harrison, the head football coach at Haversham Central, and we'll be back next week to discuss round 3, the quarterfinals. They ought to be interesting, and the Thanksgiving break. And I'm sure that you will have more fallout from this. I'm not going to have anything to say about it, but I'm sure you will, Coach.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. But ultimately, I'm just excited that we finally get to the games, which, you know, like I told the folks down in Brunswick, get through this. You know, and you know, once the news cycle switches over, people will, you know, stop, you know, caring about it as much, and y'all can get back to your normal everyday, you know, stuff that you do. But ultimately, I do want you to make sure you ask Benji Harrison about this and make sure get his opinion, because I think that's going to be an entertaining interview for people to listen to, and I definitely think that his opinion will carry a little bit of weight, especially for folks up here in North Georgia who have you know, been lucky enough to, you know, see his teams and his staffs and how they work and how he runs program, and I know he's played against Gainesville before, and you know, I'm sure he's got some interesting opinions on that if he's willing to share. But yeah, I'm more than happy to share, and you know, I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving, and you know, maybe add this topic to the list of things that you should not bring up at the Thanksgiving table if you want to, you know, make it out alive with the in-laws. You know, put this right up there with politics. Maybe put it right up there with you know, really just any kind of social justice topic. I'd probably put that there. Maybe just keep it strictly to you know, the weather, and I think you'll have a wonderful Thanksgiving. So everybody have a wonderful time. Stay safe, and hopefully everybody gets healthy and is ready to go win an opportunity for the semifinals on Friday. So good luck to everybody, and I appreciate y'all humoring this account.
And that wraps it up. From the man of constant sorrow and Coach Ed Gaffca of the Georgia Fire Football Coaches Association, we'd like to thank you for listening as always. And Relax
Coaches Podcast is proudly brought to you by Titan Sensor.
Season 7.